Hey there guys, Dirty H here and welcome to my brand new series based on New Zealand. I've been working on this map and city for well over a year now, and I thought the time was right to release the series for a couple of reasons, but mainly there is some amazing New Zealand assets on the workshop now, mainly thanks to Gaz. I hope I've pronounced that properly. But he's got a whole pack of New Zealand houses, he has a whole pack of New Zealand shops, and also I have a pack of Australian commercial buildings that we see here in New Zealand as well. So I think the time's right to have a real crack at this series. And if you haven't guessed already, I am from New Zealand, so you're in good hands, and I think what makes our country beautiful is our landscapes. So the city is based in Queenstown, and I made this map myself, and it took me more than 3 months just to make the map. I wanted it perfect and I'm really happy with it. I did think about building Queenstown here as well, but in terms of a city, it's pretty boring really, apart from the goings on there and of course the surroundings. So what I'll be doing is a mashup of pretty much every New Zealand city and just getting a real Kiwi flavour to it. So the first thing I build on camera here is a small commercial area to the north of the main road, and also Queenstown has a lot of upmarket and high quality subdivisions up in the hills, so I'll be building the first one of those coming off the back of the commercial area. I will only be using Queenstown for inspiration for a couple of areas. The rest of the city is going to be just bits and pieces from here and there, and I guess you could say it would be Queenstown if it had expanded like a Wellington for instance, so it's going to be on the larger scale as well. In the hills surrounding Queenstown, some of the properties can go for up to $30 million, so I thought this would be an interesting enough area to include in the city. I start placing down some of the buildings now in the commercial area, and what I've done with some of these larger blocks is used procedural objects to make some factories a little bit bigger, place them in the middle of the block, and then used the New Zealand commercial buildings in the front of the facade where it meets the road. This is because a lot of the shops in New Zealand are actually under one building, just split up into different shop frontages. I'm also making sure here not to place too many buildings close together, as when we look on Google Earth at New Zealand commercial areas such as the one I'm building, we find there's also a lot of car parks and just a lot of space in general between the buildings. I also add a timber yard and a drive-through area at the back of the Bunnings, and I place down this really cool New Zealand netball court that has a roof and includes 4 courts. Now that the buildings are placed down, I can come back and start detailing the area between the buildings, and I focus on concrete, car parks, vehicles and trees, but you'll also see me put down some trucks and some crates out the back of shops and things like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I do get pretty carried away here. If you've been following my other series, you know that I love detailing, and this series is definitely gonna be no different. I will, however, have to strike the right balance between detailing and scale, so I'm making sure that these props that I do put down have a purpose and are not just put down for the sake of it. One of the most exciting things about this New Zealand series for me is building some of the natural features that I'm going to include. There's a lot of rivers in New Zealand that run off glaciers and subsequently have this beautiful blue colour to them. They make for beautiful viewing, and I'm going to make one here that comes down this hill behind the city and will snake its way down the hill and through town and out into the lake. I also want to include a lot of hiking tracks and beautiful walking trails, as Queenstown is known for them, and it's just a cool little different touch to the city. I haven't done anything like this in any other cities I've ever built, so yeah, it's really fun to do this. So in an effort to keep the city as realistic as possible, I'm also doing things like putting these PO signs down. These are actually the UK signs and props, but they're exactly the same as the New Zealand ones. And I'm making up fictional names. These are real New Zealand cities, but these signs wouldn't make any sense to you at all if you were a Kiwi. And also our medians in New Zealand tend to be this red colour around built up areas, so I'm putting those in as well. This next bit on the highway here I was having some issues with. After I'd used a node controller, for some reason the vehicles were braking here before they would carry on through this intersection, and I found out it was because of this little button right here which stops the traffic from moving across the intersection if it's full on the other side. Once I clicked this, I was good as gold. Aside from Altagaz's awesome New Zealand generic housing pack, he also has a whole lot of apartment duplexes that are perfect to place along the main streets. We see a lot of these being built in New Zealand now. We're a little bit slow in terms of our housing here. There's still a lot of single dwelling houses that make up the Kiwi dream, I guess, but the reality is that we need to build a lot more of these apartment duplexes to keep up with the demand in this country. And I'm placing these particular ones down here along this main road, and this is going to lead into the downtown area. In fact, it's going to be very close to the downtown area, so these blocks you're seeing me build now are of high quality buildings, and more than likely you would have to sell your firstborn to buy one of these houses. House prices in New Zealand unfortunately are going through the roof because the supply cannot keep up with the demand. You'll also see me place down some small commercial shops here on the perpendicular road heading north, as this will become a sort of a semi-main road. I'm also making sure not to put any commercial buildings whatsoever in the actual neighbourhood. They will be confined to these semi-main roads for the meantime. Zealand has undoubtedly got some of the most beautiful roads in the world. There's a road in Queenstown that goes over the Crown Hill Range that is somewhat famous. It snakes up with a few S-bends going over the top, and I think occasionally they have car racing that goes up the road as well. So I'm doing my best to recreate the vibe from that road. This is much shorter, but I'm doing my best to keep this as realistic to rural New Zealand as I possibly can. Hoping that this brand new New Zealand series is going to be interesting enough to watch for everybody, not just Kiwis. I have some big plans to include all of the awesomest things from New Zealand, including bungee jumps, whitewater rafting and jet boating on the lake, just to name a few. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed the first episode. If you have, you should think about subscribing, or at the very least chuck me a like. And as we would say here in New Zealand, I hope you guys have a sweet ass day. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, guys.